welcome. Thank you for joining me at the table. I'm Thomas Dodderwick, and this week I am sitting down with the Director of Second Vocations for the Diocese of Great Falls-Billings, Father Matt Solarz. Father Matt, welcome. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Thomas. It's always good to have a chat.
Father Matt, you're the newest priest ordained in the Diocese of Great Falls-Billings, and
Yes.
so you've only been ordained a priest for about 6 months-ish, not quite. Can you tell us?
Less, yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about what the experience of being a newly ordained priest in the Diocese of Great Falls-Billings is like?
It's even better than I could have imagined. Every day is a blessing, even the ones that come with challenges. I'll tell you, being an ordained priest is much different than being in the seminary. So for our men that are still in formation, your time will come as well, and the blessings will continue to flow. It's just been great. It's been a wonderful opportunity to meet people, to share the sacraments. Still get a little emotional when I celebrate Mass, but I've been told that that's common for the newly ordained. So very much a blessing, Thomas.
As a newly ordained, in addition to your parish assignments and your missions that you take care of there in Sydney, because you've got a cluster of 5 communities, is that right? That
Yes.
You tend to?
Yes. Yeah.
You're also the Director of Second Vocations. And so what does that title or that position entail?
Well, it's, as you know, myself, I am a second vocation, or what we would call a second vocation. And it's, working with the other members of the vocations team to encourage, good candidates who might be later in life. Obviously, we understand that, I don't want to say an ideal candidate, but I think every diocese would love to have, brilliant younger men, who can come into a diocese and serve for 30 or 40 years. But with today's demographic and with the church today, that's not always a possibility. So I'm always on the lookout for second career men over 30 who perhaps thought about a call to ministry at one time, but made a different decision and are now experiencing that same call. And I work with one of the seminaries for older men with their recruiting department for those people where rural ministry might be a good fit. And it's kind of nice to work with my alma mater there in Hales Corners. But I'm open to hearing from men who are interested in coming to Montana to serve, here in the Plains.
Really, what I hear you saying is that we're open as a diocese to receiving men at just about any stage of their life, assuming that they're free to explore the possibility of ordination.
Yes. I think we're very blessed as a diocese that, both Bishop Fleming and his predecessor, Bishop Warfel, both were very open to men who are called to serve regardless of their stage in life. It really is a blessing for us, I think, because just like our younger seminarians bring a particular set of gifts and longevity, the older men bring gifts as well. That some dioceses, for whatever reason, maybe they have an abundance of younger men where they don't feel they need to reach into the over 40 crowd, so to speak, or what the case may be. But some dioceses are not open to second vocations, and it's a blessing that our bishop and bishops are and were.
Speak a little bit to what seminary and that experience is like for a second vocation man, since you were a second vocation yourself. Because when a lot of people think of seminary, they just think of, well, it's just like college for the younger guys. And that experience might be slightly different for second vocation men.
It is. One of the things that so many people, it's difficult for people to understand is the idea of discernment. If you decide you're going to go to college for a nursing degree or for a degree in agriculture, you know exactly what your destination is, where you're going to be working. When you enter the seminary, you enter the process of discernment, which means that, you're learning, just as the church is learning about you, you're learning about serving Christ. So when people say, oh, you're in the seminary, so you're going to be a priest. Well, no, I'm in the seminary and I'm discerning the priesthood. It's not like any other career path.
And so the formation that second vocation men receive, how does it differ, if it does differ, from, let's say, first vocation men to the priesthood?
I don't know how well I can answer that because obviously I'm a second vocation. I don't have the experience that a younger seminarian might have. But I do know that adjusting to certain things was a lot easier when I was younger. And now at 40, when you take up a person who's in their 40s or in their 50s, and suddenly you remove them from the career world, put them back in an academic environment. They're no longer receiving a paycheck. They are sitting down, learning, they're praying, they're spending time with the Lord. It's very different. And I think formation takes a very different tact, if you will. You learn to sort of forget, and maybe forget is a bad word, but you look to adapt what you had learned in the secular world to our church world, right, to the life of the church. And it's very difficult because the approach is much different and much gentler within our church communities than it sometimes can be in the outside.
Right now, the vocations department is in the end phase of a new campaign that they started this year to try to show support for our men in formation. And this was really kind of a brainchild of yours. Talk about that and how important this kind of gesture is to men in formation.
Well, I had just touched on, second vocations in particular, and I'm certain that, our young men are not flush with resources when they enter the seminary. It's a different life. They are not able to work. They're not really able to provide for themselves because they have to, apply every aspect of their life to their ministry. And while the diocese does provide, generously provides a small stipend, that certainly can't replace a full-time salary, especially for an adult man. There was a diocese when I was at seminary where they had a very active vocations department, and each of their guys would receive a big manila envelope every year around Christmas, full of gift cards, full of well wishes from parishioners. And I can't tell you how many men said, wow, if it wasn't for this, I wouldn't have been able to make it home for the holidays. Or if it wasn't for, this is the first I've heard from anybody. It's nice to get a bunch of cards. And they would develop relationships with people in their diocese, through these annual envelopes they'd receive. And some of the people would turn into pen pals and families they would visit when they returned to their diocese. And I think it was just a great way for people to lend their support and the seminarians to get to know people in the diocese they might otherwise have never met.
So the plan is people still have time. We got about a week left of this campaign because it ends on the 15th. And so people can still get stuff to their parishes. And then what happens?
Well, at that point, hopefully, all of the helpful pastors in the diocese here will get everything boxed up and sent over to St. Matthew's here in Sydney, at which time I will try to wrangle some very kind volunteers to help me go through the generous things that are sent in for our men, make sure everything is divided evenly and appropriately between the four of them, and hopefully make sure that they get some warm greetings and thoughts from our diocese before the holidays.
Since there's still time and people might still want to participate, can you share just a little bit of what might be a good thing to contribute and what might not be a good thing to contribute to this?
Certainly. At this point, everyone loves fresh baked goods, but those are probably not a good idea. Anything that's perishable might be a little challenging, which is a shame because I'm sure there are a lot of wonderful bakers out there.
Sure.
But snacks that are packaged and sealed are fine. Maybe a box of candy or something that's sealed. Gift cards are particularly helpful because those can always be turned into oil changes, gasoline for the car, prescriptions if necessary at the doctor's office, of any amount, of a donor's choice. Just kind words, prayer cards, letters saying, hey, we're praying for you, our families, and sometimes even little pictures, drawn by school kids. I still have a couple pictures from some of the kids that were praying for me years and years ago that really, really were a blessing to receive. So things like that are all great and all very helpful.
And along those lines, can you give a personal testimony of what that personal touch meant when you were in the seminary so far away from the people that you were going to minister to and minister with, what those personal touches from the diocese meant to you.
Oh, absolutely. You're there, as you said, you're removed from everything. You might talk to your formator in the diocese every other week or whatever the case might be, but yet you're not home. And to get a letter like that, or to get something that says, hey, we're thinking about you. There are things that seminarians hold on to. I mean, I remember in particular, right before my ordination, I got a letter from a young lady who was discerning a religious life. And she had simply said, I had heard about you. I saw your picture on the poster. I'm praying for you. Since you're in the seminary, I'd appreciate it if you pray for me. And this was out of the blue, and something just made me say, wow, the prayer is powerful. And, even our young people are thinking about us and praying for our vocations. And I think I'd still have that letter here in my office tacked up just for the memory.
If you had an opportunity to speak directly and make an ask directly to the people of God of Eastern Montana, what would you say?
Brothers and sisters of my Catholic family, your seminarians want nothing more than to serve the Lord and to serve you, and to dedicate the rest of their lives to ministry. But getting there can be a challenging road. And please, if you can find it in your heart and it's within your means to show them just how much you care over the holidays. It's a very important time of the year. It's a time that they'll be getting a chance to perhaps come home or to take a break from their studies. And this gives us a chance at a very dear and very holy time of the year to show them our love, and that we love and appreciate everything that they are preparing to do for us.
Father Solarz, thank you for sitting down today and talking about this campaign. Thank you for sharing your personal journey of your newly ordained state in the church. And would you please end us with your blessing?
I certainly will. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine down upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord look down upon you with favor and give you peace. And may Almighty God bless you, the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit.